I'd like us to begin looking at the Constitution of the United States of America with the idea that it sort of begins to come to us um, with the issuance of the Magna Carta of 1215, where King John, the brother of Richard the Lionheart, was summoned to the field of Runnymede in England and signed this document, which essentially said the king is no longer above the law. There's a lot more to the text than that. There's some very interesting little textual items in there, such as you cannot have business transactions with Jews, and it's extremely limiting. Very interesting document itself, but the main feature is that the king, who has all right and all power, begins to transfer this right and power to the barons. That's essentially what the document gives. Now, a fuller English scholar might tell me I'm way wrong, but that's my reading of it. And I think it's interesting to look at the original language, the opening language. John, by the grace of God, King of England, Lord of Ireland, Duke of Normandy and Aquitaine, and Count of Anjou. So we're looking at all the hereditary titles of the King of England. Lord of Ireland was gained by conquest. Duke of Normandy, of course, is William the Conqueror's title. Aquitaine and Count of Anjou are also hereditary titles from William. This is why Eleanor d'Aquitaine, or she married into Henry II, but all of her titles came into the King of England. This is where they fought for years over Aquitaine and Anjou. Anyway, and notice that John begins to run to his archbishops, bishops, abbots, and look at this, the next title group. So the first three groups are the church hierarchy. This is very, very much the way that ancient monarchical systems worked. It was king first, then the prelates of God second, and then we go to the sort of subdivision of powerful persons, the earls, barons, and they list all of these individuals in that order, and then the king begins to give power. Well, let's go look at our Constitution. What I'm going to, let me see if I can make that a little bigger. Oops, made it too big maybe? No. You know, our language, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Now, I wanted to pause here for a second. Well, let's look at this. We the people. Big difference between King John. I'm walking in here, I've got all the right, and I'm giving some of it to you, but I'm keeping everything else I've got. Whereas we the people now constitute a central government and give it some rights. And as we'll see when we pop to the 10th Amendment, we limit how many we give them. But I think it's interesting to note that in the UK, where we got a lot of our laws, we rebelled from the United Kingdom, but set up a very similar system, and almost all of our states or colonies at the time had sort of British parliamentary systems. And, if we look at the balance of Commonwealth nations, at least those that were prior empire dominions or even existing dominions, very similar setting. But notice that in the UK, there is no specific written document. It is a collection of documents, statutes, and traditional practices, that which we would call sort of the common law. That is, we've done it this way for years, and it's written down somewhere, and everybody knows it. It's one of the ambiguities of law that can be really stressful. But what we have as a beginning of our transformation is that we give power to a central government. And what I want to do is look real quickly, and then I'm going to stop this lecture and start another one, looking more carefully at the powers granted to the federal government. But I want to see, this is coming out of, how did I get to the United States Senate? Oh, okay. I go from the White House to the U.S. Senate. That's an odd link to me. And they've got all the amendments. The one that I want to focus on here, because it sort of bookends, if you will, the original Constitution, is the 10th Amendment. And I'm going to come back in subsequent lectures and look at some of the other amendments that we're dealing with. But then let's look at the 10th Amendment. Again, I'll see if I can make this a little bigger. What I'm looking at is Amendment 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, which is a phrase I still don't quite understand, but there is case law that makes it clear that what they're really saying about it is if the states haven't told the federal government you can't have power here, delicate balance here, you don't have it. The powers we don't give to the federal government, and then here's the really powerful part of this phrasing, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So to me, there's a bookend here. We, the people, grant what we haven't given to the federal government or given to the state government. We, the people, retain it. Now, that's a challenging thing because we, the people in the United States of America, as we can see by recent presidential elections, is oftentimes a bicameral split. It's a 51-47. A lot of our greatest Supreme Court decisions are 5-4. The recent death of Antonin Scalia throws this into tumult, if you will. The great jurist Scalia is a guy who's very textual, so it may be worthwhile that we sort of talk about this here. But this is the power, and you can see that there's a challenge between the king, who's one individual, and may be advised by a variety of people, and we the people. As a collective, we the people is a very broad spectrum, and we're not necessarily going to always be able to check the powers of the federal government. But that's the framing. We the people give to a central government. We give them only specific powers. If we haven't given them the powers, then the states are the ones whom we may have given powers to. If we haven't given the state power, we the people keep it. And so this is, if we pop back to that fabulous phrase in the opening, and this is not good web management here, but yeah, there's section 8. I should have just jumped on the scroll bar. Promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. The blessings of liberty is that which we do not give to these people. We've got to be careful as we elect politicians that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely.